The city of Aranthia had always been a place of marvels, its skyline pierced by towers of crystal and steel, its streets alive with beings from hundreds of worlds. Yet even in such a bustling metropolis, where aliens and humans mingled, there were some who wandered alone, those who had been rejected by everyone, whispered about, or dismissed as outcasts. One of those beings was Nicera, the Dragon Lady. Nicera was not small by any means. Her scales shimmered with an iridescent violet, her wings arched gracefully from her back, and her golden eyes could intimidate even the bravest of warriors. But for all her beauty, for all her power, she had been rejected everywhere she went. Planetary councils deemed her too dangerous. Social gatherings whispered about her curves and horns. She tried trading with merchants, seeking companionship, even offering her rare abilities as protection or guidance, but everyone found an excuse to send her away every day. She walked the streets of Aranthia alone, the wind catching her wings in a way that reminded her of freedom she could never truly enjoy. She lived in a small, decrepit apartment at the edge of the city, high above the bustling streets, but still close enough to hear the laughter and life she had been denied. Her heart ached with loneliness, and at night, she often curled on the cold metal floor of her tiny home, wondering if she would ever find someone who saw her for more than her size or her appearance. One rainy afternoon, Nicera was wandering through the lower districts, avoiding the gaze of those who feared her. She had almost forgotten what it was like to hope when a small, muffled cry reached her ears. She paused, tilting her head. The cry was human and tiny and desperate. Following the sound, she discovered a little girl sitting on a wet curb, drenched from the rain, hugging a small tattered toy to her chest. Her wide eyes glistened with tears, and she was shivering uncontrollably. Nicera's first instinct was caution. Humans were often frightened by her presence, but something about the girl's small, vulnerable figure tugged at her heart. Slowly, she knelt down and extended a wing to shelter the girl from the rain. "Are you hurt?" Nicera's voice rumbled softly, careful not to scare her. The little girl flinched at the sound, but then, sensing no threat, she sniffled and nodded. I got lost," she stammered. "And my mummy, she's gone." Nicera's heart clenched. The child was no older than 6 or 7, and here she was, abandoned in the rain, just as Nicera had been abandoned by the world in countless ways. Without thinking, Nicera gently scooped the girl into her arms, careful not to crush her fragile frame. "Don't worry," Nicera said. "You're safe with me now." The girl's eyes widened, looking up at the Dragon Lady with a mixture of awe and hope. "Really? You'll keep me safe?" Nicera nodded. "I promise." For the first time in years, Nicera felt something she had thought was impossible. She carried the girl back to her apartment, drying her with soft, enchanted cloths that shimmered with warmth. She prepared hot broth and tucked the girl into a small bed she had never used herself, feeling an unfamiliar but comforting bond forming between them. Over the next few days, the little girl, whose name was Leela, clung to Nicera as though she had found a mother in her. Nicera learned that Lila's parents had died in a tragic accident, leaving her in the care of distant relatives who were cruel and neglectful. She had escaped, running through the dangerous streets until she had collapsed from exhaustion and rain. Nicera, for all her loneliness, had never felt such a connection with another being. Leela's laughter, her tiny hand clutching Nicera's claw, her unshakable trust, it filled the emptiness that had haunted Nicera for so long. One evening, as they sat by a small fire in the apartment. Lila looked up at Nicera with innocent determination. "Nicera, can you be my mum?" The question stopped Nicera in her tracks. Her throat tightened, her heart beating faster than it had in years. No one had ever asked her that before. No one had ever wanted her in that way. And yet here was this tiny human girl asking to belong to her, to be loved by her, unconditionally. Nicera swallowed hard, emotion threatening to spill over. "Lila, I would be honored," she said, her voice trembling. From that day on, their bond grew stronger. Nicera taught Lila how to read alien glyphs, how to navigate the streets safely, and even a few defensive maneuvers in case danger approached. Lila, in turn, taught Nicera about the small joys of life, the delight in a steaming cup of cocoa, the thrill of running through puddles, and the magic of bedtime stories told with wild imagination. However, the world outside was not as forgiving. Word of Nicera's guardianship of a human child spread quickly, drawing curious and often hostile attention. Alien authorities questioned her, neighbors whispered, and some humans outright avoided her. They saw a dragon lady as too dangerous, too unpredictable to raise a human child. Nicera faced these challenges with a calm determination. She refused to let prejudice dictate their lives. "Lila is my daughter," she told anyone who doubted her, "and I will protect her no matter what." One day, as the city's authorities arrived at her doorstep, a tense crowd gathering Nicera stood tall, wings unfurled, eyes blazing. But before she could speak, Lila ran forward, her small hand clutching Nicera's claws. "Please," Lila said, voice shaking but firm. "She's my mum. I love her. She keeps me safe. That's all that matters." The crowd fell silent. Nicera's golden eyes softened as she watched Lila's courage. For the first time, she realized that love could be a shield stronger than any blade, more powerful than any magic or weapon. Even the authorities, moved by the child's innocence and Nicera's unwavering care, decided to allow them to remain together. Life was still challenging, but it was theirs. They found a larger apartment, and Nicera began working as a guide for travelers and explorers, her knowledge of alien worlds making her indispensable. Lila thrived under her care, growing curious, clever, and endlessly compassionate. And though the world could still be harsh and unkind, Nicera no longer felt alone. She had found her purpose, her family, and the love she had thought forever denied to her. One evening, as the sun set over around, painting the skyline in shades of amber and violet, Lila curled up next to Nicera, her small head resting on her mother's scaled shoulder. "Mum," she whispered, double quotes, "yes. Do you think anyone will ever not like you again?" Nicera smiled, nuzzling her daughter gently. "Maybe," she admitted, "but it won't matter, because as long as I have you, I'll never be alone again." Lila giggled softly, the sound like music in the quiet apartment. "And I'll never let anyone be mean to you, Mum. Promise." "I promise, my little star," Nicera said, and for the first time in her long life, the dragon lady didn't feel the sting of rejection. She felt the warmth of a home, the joy of love, and the extraordinary power of being wanted not for her strength, not for her beauty, but for her heart, because sometimes it only takes one little human girl to remind the world that even the most feared and rejected beings are capable of love, and worthy of it. And in the heart of Aranthia, a dragon lady and a little girl built a family that no one could tear apart. Asterisk.